Time for our talk this week. Can we start here because I know you wrote about it. By the way, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing good, man. Just trying to keep up with this insanity. But how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. And yes, that I've been reading. You wrote about this takeover of Washington D.C. This isn't. Look, yes, it is about Washington D.C. It's about a city with a black mayor. It is about having control of a blue city or a blue place to send a message. It's also Epstein derangement syndrome on his part. But this is not just confined and will not be confined to Washington D.C. He wants to do this around the country. So it is coming to a city, a state, town, a municipality near you.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously with DC, the law is different, so he has more legal parameters there with the Home Rule Act. But he is targeting other cities across the country, and it's not a coincidence that every single one of the ones he's mentioned have black mayors. Like you said, there's race tied into this. These are Democratic leaning cities, but he talked about Oakland. He's talking about New York City. Currently has a black mayor, Eric Adams, even though we don't really claim him, but he is still black. But he's talking about these. He wants to take this fight, and he's focusing on cities that have lowering and declining crime rates. DC, 30-year low in violent crime, 26% decrease from this time last year to 2024. We have all these other cities he's talking about have declining crime rates. So this is not about crime. This is about control. This is about deflection from his mounting scandals. And what we see here, if you really want to target crime, the top 10 most dangerous cities, a lot of them are in red states run by people that he is politically allied with.
Yeah. But he's not going into those cities or those states.
Nope.
Why do
Nope.
you think that is?
Because because it's spectacle. It's authoritarian spectacle, man. And he wants to pick fights with Democrats. He wants to create what he's doing now is really transparent. If we really break it down, his approval rating is at 37%, which is close to his first term low of 34%, which was directly after January 6th, right? So his approval rating is 3 points away from his worst directly after January 6th. This is in Gallup. And then we have the Epstein files cover up. We have all of these mounting scandals. We have unpopularity. We have 3 months of the worst job growth since the pandemic. And before that, the Great Recession. He is feeling cornered. So he's like, let me change the subject to a matter that I think I'm strong on, crime. And let me target Democratic cities so I can create this narrative that Democrats are defending crime by not wanting me to enter their city. That's what he thinks he's doing, but it's pretty transparent, right? We all see through it.
It is pretty transparent, but what is also transparent to me is that he wants this spectacle. And I believe that these strong arm tactics, it looks like occupation to me. If you're
Yeah.
looking at American cities, if you're just an observer from the outside looking in, it looks like occupation. But when you actually live in those cities, obviously it feels like occupation.
Mhm.
And I think that this will sadly incite some violence. You already see protesters out there. Now, the protesters you see are mostly sort of liberal looking, white guys and white ladies out there. You don't see a lot of African Americans because, quite frankly, I think that's what he wants. He wants them to come out. He wants them to fight back. He wants to see members of law enforcement or members of the military, the National Guard, beating up on people of color. He
Yeah.
wants that spectacle and that chaos in black cities or predominantly black places around the country. And sadly, he might get it because when you feel like you're being occupied, like living in an occupied territory in the United States, that is going to cause some frustration to you. People should be free to walk around their own cities and not feel like they're occupied. People should be free to sit on their own property or on their own steps without being harassed by National Guard military members, police officers, or asked for their identification. Show me your papers. This
Mhm.
is America. We live in a democracy, and people have the right to assemble. It's part of the First Amendment of the Constitution.
Well said. And that's all spot on. You're right. He wants that confrontation. He has this occupation and he wants people to come out and agitate because just like with LA, the intent of the deployment is not to suppress crime or violence. He wants to provoke reactions so we can have that spectacle, like you're saying, of him suppressing some violence or some protest. And people are comparing it to, I don't know if you've watched the show Andor. It's like a new Star Wars show that it's been getting a lot of comparisons to this like anti-fascist art, but basically in there they deploy these stormtroopers to this town square, and then they agitate the protesters as a reasoning for inflicting more control. Basically, that's what's happening here, right? He goes in there, he wants to flex. It's an obviously spectacle deflection, but at the core, it's an authoritarian spectacle because he has been using these fake emergencies around the country to justify power grabs.
Yeah, but it's also look. Don't get me wrong. I just want to be quite honest about this. I haven't forgotten what the mission is. I haven't forgotten the assignment. The assignment is for us Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. He has
Yes.
Epstein derangement syndrome. So he not only does look. There are a couple things. A couple things can be true at the same time. He wants to take over these blue places. Obviously, I believe that he wants to have some control or authority over the 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 I guess the law enforcement processes in their cities. But also, when it comes time for the midterm elections, right? If he has some sort of control over these places, then he can perhaps influence those elections, right? And so
Mhm.
he wants that. He's concerned. He's very worried about losing the midterm elections. Obviously, that is why he's doing what he's doing in Texas and asking it to happen around the country. So it's all connected. It's
Yes.
all this, sort of circular echo chamber of grievances and how do I change the narrative? He's getting bad economic news. People are asking about Epstein. He's trying to get people to stop reporting on it. They are not reporting as much because he's coming up with all of these distractions. Now he wants to meet with Putin and Zelensky, and now
Hmm.
he's got the bad economic numbers that came out today. So he's spinning, spinning, spinning. And I do believe it all stemmed for me from Epstein derangement syndrome.
I'm glad you're flipping the Trump derangement syndrome on its head there because that's what's happening here. He is acting deranged because of these files. This all started back when we had that discussion in June, right? And now we're seeing this increasingly erratic behavior. Because you're right, two things can be true at the same time. This can be a deflection tactic away from Epstein and also an authoritarian power grab with real goals that are tied to the Texas gerrymandering, that are tied to his plans to potentially interfere in the 2026 midterms. Actually, I consider what they're doing right now interference in the 2026 midterms with the gerrymander because you're really trying to influence the outcome. So you're right. This bottom line, where I think people need to reframe it, is this is coming from a place of deep, deep weakness. Like this is not what strong leaders do. This is not what popular leaders do. They don't need to go and occupy sovereign, municipalities. They don't need to do this. He's doing this as a show of force. He's trying to throw meat to his base that turned on him because of guess what? Epstein, right? Like there's all of this coming back to what he's trying to deflect from. And I think you're right to point that out. And also, y'all in the crowd, if you're hearing Don spinning his fire, connecting the dots, hit the likes, hit the subscribe button, share this with your people, get more eyes on this because that's what's key about this is connecting these dots rather than falling into some of his traps, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I told you. Yes, thank you for that. Make sure you hit the like button, the thumbs up, the hearts. It's important that you follow and you support independent journalists. Goes without saying, but we still have to say it, right? So,
Yeah.
but what's your concern in all of this? I look out over this and I wonder where are we going to next? What is going to happen? My concern is the potential for possible violence, but also on top of that, my concern is also about the sealing of elections. Starting with the midterms, trying to redraw districts in years that are not census years. And so the unprecedented nature of all of this to me is destabilizing and concerning. And I don't want to cause undue fear in people's minds and hearts, but we're at a very critical juncture right now where if we go, I believe, into this next sort of area or off of this precipice where we are right now with the reshaping of districts, I don't think there's any turning back after this. I believe it's over.
You believe it's fully over.
I believe it's fully over. I do.
I mean, I agree with the concern. Like what I'm worried about next, I think is this incitement of violence. I think these occupations are incitements of violence. It's not trying to suppress it. These aren't real emergencies. DC has seen declining crime. And also the villainization of black teenagers. I think this is one thing that's been missing from a lot of the conversations. The way Jeanine Pirro talked about juveniles in that press conference
Hmm.
and the way that the images they showed of the arrest are just of black kids. they're targeting black teenagers in DC, right? They're villainizing juveniles right now, right? And so I'm worried about that. I'm worried about the way that they're trying to take this to other cities and try to pressure Democrats to crack down and basically do stop and frisk everywhere. Like there's videos of them going around harassing teenagers, smoking cigarettes and harassing people. But broadly, I really do think it's Donald Trump needs a crisis. I think bottom line is in these moments when he's unpopular and backed into a corner, he thinks he needs crises in order to exert more control. And that's what's happening here. He wants to create a crisis to then exploit that crisis for his personal gain. And I think we have to be vigilant about it. I hope with the gerrymandering thing, it's not fully over if Texas moves forward with this, because we do see, you think it would just start kind of a gerrymandering arms race that would be unsustainable with Newsom and, fighting back and then other red states going back? Is that what you think?
I do, but I think that, I don't know if California can make up enough seats. I don't know if New York can make up enough seats because they're going after 42 seats. And so it's going to take that. It's going to take a lot of work to redraw those districts to combat that. And so if he gets this, then that means he has control in states. Again, the Electoral College has been helping him out with this, especially when it comes to elections. The way how we want to sort of equalize how much influence every single state has, even though the minority of Americans are controlling our government and the policies that we have in this country, in large part because of the Electoral College. But I believe if he does this, it's going to be the same thing, except that he has gained congressional influence and a majority over this through, I believe, nefarious means. And I don't believe that there's any turning back from that. I don't know if big blue states and big blue places can make up for the loss of 42 seats in Congress.
Yeah, I mean, 42 would be a lot. Obviously, the 5 we'd be able to make up. That's what they're going for. I know. Yeah. But there are one of the things I don't think they'll get to all 42 because we're seeing some resistance. There's some stories of internal resistance from some Republicans, like state legislatures, right? So in Indiana, J.D. Vance literally had to go there to try to persuade them, and then we have vulnerable Republicans that are basically warning in these blue states that are warning like our seats will be eviscerated. So I don't think they'll get to the full 42, but I'm still super concerned. And you're right, because there are more seats to carve out on the Republican end. And it would just have to be one of those things where Democratic turnout would have to be so insanely high that that people were like, I think we'd have to get to the point where the way to combat this would be for low propensity voters to turn out in the midterms. Mm-hmm. It would I think the way they carve out the districts now, it's based off those high propensity midterm voters, right? It's those voters that come out no matter what. But I think Democrats would have to use Trump's strategy against them that he used in 2024 and go after those low propensity voters that he gained in 2024 that he's losing now. I think there'd still be hope. I think they are so unpopular right now that if Democrats move accordingly, they could stem the bleeding and still win. Or do you think what are your thoughts on that?
I think if they hold the line in Texas, that there is a very strong possibility that that enthusiasm will carry across the country, and it will allow for more people and more legislatures and in their congressional districts to fight back against this gerrymandering, which is not illegal, but it is unprecedented. So I believe that will happen. But I also think that, if you look at Donald Trump's polling numbers for the handling of his job approval, still Republicans, they love him. You understand that. But when it relates to the people that really matter at this point, rather than his rabid cultish base, independents and people who don't like these policies, they are fighting back. They're not on his side. He's underwater as it relates to his handling of the jobs market. And that was something that, people thought that he would be best at. And it's not happening. That's why he's so concerned about the midterm elections. And so I'm just wondering what this new economic data is going to do, if it's going to cause him to lose his mind again. And then, because he already appointed someone as the interim head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, if he's going to fire that person, because he got really bad news as it relates to inflation being on the rise just today as we were taping this.
Yes, he did. And that's only going to further erode his economic support. Like you're saying, his key indicator of his popularity was his backing on the economy, and that has eroded drastically. And now we had those 3 months slowest job growth since the pandemic, and then now with these inflation numbers here, you're right. I think he might throw another tantrum because right now he's trying to do data control because he can't. He's rather than try to actually maybe roll back some tariffs and take accountability and fix the economy, which we'll never see that man take accountability, but he could at least change course. Instead, he's trying to suppress the numbers. So, like you're saying, he's got that new BLS. Maybe they remove the interim. But did you see the new guy that he's nominating, the EJ and Anthony? It's insane. He's literally a Project 2025 contributor,
It's the Heritage Foundation.
Heritage Foundation chief economist. And then did you see the pictures that were released last night of him literally in the crowd on January 6th?
Yes. Uh, Go on.
He was literally in the crowd on January 6th. So what Donald is trying to do here is put in place a sycophantic right-wing extremist to be in charge of BLS data, to be in charge of the most important data that is released economically in the country. It impacts global decisions. It impacts our market. It moves everything. And he wants to put EJ Anthony in there. Just the worst possible pick. This far right. Like you see him in the crowd in January. He wasn't even one of the most like tough guys in there. He was like in the crowd just looking around like he's some tourist. Like he's just some rando extremist. And he wants to put this guy in charge because very clearly he just wants control of the numbers. He doesn't want fair numbers being reported.
Well, look at the head of the is it ST? What is it? Not Federal Trade Commission, the FEC or FCC, excuse me, Brendan Carr, who wrote the I guess the foreword or whatever or the section on media. He wrote it for Project 2025, and people fell for that BS. I think his supporters knew that. Oh, I don't have anything to do with Project 2025. I don't know what that is. And now everything that he is implementing is straight out of the Project 2025 playbook.
Well, you don't got to hand me this layup, man. I have been writing about Project 2025 since fall of 2023, was really warning about this. Now, by my count, over a dozen of its top contributors, authors, and advisory board members are in his administration. Stephen Miller was on the advisory board. John Radcliffe is named as a contributor. We have now, like you said, Brendan Carr at the FCC wrote that chapter. He got into a Twitter beef with me for calling him out on it. He straight up was in my replies when I called out that he was a Project 2025 contributor, tried to beef with me on it. And he's out here trying to do his bidding in the media, and so many other people, so many other big names. Tom Homan, also affiliated with Project 2025. Like, if you actually look at it, he is out here executing that far right agenda to the highest level. And again, another lie to the voters, another broken promise. Yeah. And people see through it, man.
Well, people do see through it, but as I've been doing these town halls, not really a town hall. It's good. They're like town halls, as a matter of fact. But I've been doing these shows at City Winery with D.L. Hughley.
Yeah, they've been dope, by the way.
Huh?
They said they've been dope. I've been seeing it on social media.
I wish I could take them around the country. Look, it ain't easy to do this, right? And we're doing it. Basically, this is a town hall, and we're financing all of it. But it's tough. People feel the economic constraints that we're in. People feel there's a mental aspect to this as well. There is a depression aspect to this as well, because people feel that the guardrails have come off. Even people who supported him are saying, I voted for him. But not this. You effed around and you found out, but not this.
No, exactly. Yeah. Like, they thought they could get Trump a la carte. These people, a lot of them thought they could pick and choose which policies from Donald that he was promising that they would get rather than get the whole pie. No, when you elect Donald, you're going to get everything. And we're seeing some regret here. And I'm seeing it too. I actually have some people I know who were former Republicans, and they told me in their circles, they're seeing why. They said one of their staunch pro-Trump friends is now protesting in the streets against Trump. This is a voter from 2024. So, like, I'm seeing anecdotally what the polls are saying nationally, and it seems you are too in these town halls.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing what's happening in real life, and not just in town halls, but just from people that I speak to on the street. And there is some real concern, and they should be concerned, especially now, about this economic data. And there should be concern about what's happening around. It's all connected. Project 2025, taking over blue cities and blue states and blue areas because they want to influence the outcome of an election. And they also just want that narrative that they're cracking down on
Mhm.
Black people in Black cities
Yep.
and Black mayors. Ahmed, we're going to have to leave it there. I'm going to see you again next week for True Brothers Talking. I appreciate it. Keep writing your stuff. Keep following us on all platforms. My brother, Ahmed Baba, on all social platforms. And make sure you hit the hearts. Make sure you hit the likes and the thumbs up and support independent media. We'll see you next time.
All
Okay?
right. Great talking to you, bro. See you next week.
You as well.
All right.